Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is the Tailkeep and today I'm gonna be showing you a survival guide from the rockstar of Belobog. Hope you enjoy. So which light cone is the best for survival? Well, let's begin with the three-star ones, the three rarity light cones. First of all, with Databank. Databank is a great light cone for her because it increases her ultimate damage, and Serval is heavily played around her ultimate because it is such a low cost for her. So she can easily play around her skill and then ultimate. Therefore this is a great light cone to have as a 3-star rarity, but in the later stages of the game you don't really want to use a 3-star one, so you probably will use this only in the early game to mid game at best. Next up we have the passkey. This light cone is also a 3-star, so you probably will give it up on the late game, especially on the memory of chaos due to the lack of stats. But still, the passive can really help a lot with the early game. This passive gives to the characters energy whenever they use a skill, and Serval as a main DPS is a great one because you can easily rotate around his skill and then ultimate. And because of her very low ultimate cost, he can easily get loads of ultimates onto the enemies and deal great AoE damage. Next up, Saga City, the last 3-star lightcon. Saga City is an okay lightcon for her also, because she easily uses loads of ultimates and therefore the passive that gives attack whenever she uses her ultimate is very good for her, and it can be very consistent even though it's for 2 turns, because she can easily get her ulti a lot, but still, because it's a 3-star rarity lightcon, you won't really use it in the late stages of the game, especially in the memory of chaos due to the lack of the stats. Let us begin with the 4-star rarity ones. First of all, the Breath of the Self. Do not use this light cone unless you don't have any other light cone of the edition path, because the passive won't really be used by Serval. Actually, it won't be used by her in any case unless you use Simulate the Universe, but still. Yeah, because it heavily relies on follow-up attacks, and Serval has 0 follow-up attacks, therefore making this light cone for Hev almost useless, except for the raw stats that he gives. Next up, make the World Camo that has his splash art on it. This is probably the best 4-star light cone that she can use, due to the reason that she gets loads of energy, 1/5 of her energy upon beginning at the battle if it is super position 1, and then it becomes 32, which is most of her energy. Therefore she can easily use skill and then ultimate at the first turn and killing most mobs with her AoE damage. And it also increases ultimate damage by 32% at super imposition 1, but at super imposition 5 it increases by 64%, which is a lot of damage, and it can be very useful for her due to her using loads of ultimates, and 64% is huge amounts of damage. Next up, Genius's Repose. Genius's Repose is also decent native light cone if you don't have Make the World Glamour. It increases her attack by 16%, and whenever she defeats an enemy, and the Serval would get crit damage by 24% for 3 turns. That would be on simple imposition 1, but on super imposition 5 she would get 32% attack all the time, and whenever she would defeat an enemy she would get crit damage by 48%. This light is great for Serval if you build her for crit rate, and Serval has already lots of crit rate from her traces, so it can be very good if you just wanna have crit rate and then extra crit damage. But this would only activate if you kill an enemy, so it can be done due to many bosses having easier to kill enemies, but there are a few that don't really have easier to kill enemies, so she can really pick them off in order to get this buff going. So it's conditional, therefore it's okay to have, but it's not the best choice due to inconsistency. Next up is the Seriousness of Breakfast. This is also a solid light cone for her due to the raw damage increase, not attack increase, damage increase, which overall damage, which at super imposition 1 it is 12% damage, and for every defeated enemy she gains a stacking bonus of attack. At super imposition 1 it is 4%, and at max level at super imposition 5 she would get 24% damage increase, and she would get a stacking bonus of 8%, which would stack up to 24% with full stack. This is okay light cone due to giving overall damage increase and stacking attack bonuses, but the stacking attack bonus you can't really secure it as said before with the previous light cone, unless you kill an enemy. Therefore, it's okay, but it's conditional, so therefore it's not the best in choice for sure. And last but not least, for the 4-star rarity light cones we have today is another peaceful day. It's the battle pass light cone, and it's not the greatest. It's probably the weakest 4-star for sure, unless other than the Breath of Oneself, which gives her damage increase based on the max energy, which for Serval it's not really good because he has very low cost for her energy. Therefore, it would give her very minimal bonuses compared to other characters. It could be used, but still, if you have the other light cons that can be used, use them, such as they make the world glamour. Now for the 5-star ones, let's begin with the Before Dawn, the Jingwan's light cone. Jingwan's light cone on Serval is not really the greatest, even though it does give low stats such as crit damage at Supreme Position by 36% and increase her skill and ultimate damage by 18%, but the rest of the passive is just useless for her, because almost useless to her, because she needs to make a follow-up attack in order to increase their follow-up attack damage by 48%, but still, because Serval doesn't have any follow-up attacks unless you are in simulated universe, this passive is rendered useless. Therefore, you only get 36% crit damage and 18% skill and ultimate damage. Therefore, it's an okay for all stats, but still you're losing a passive. You would be better using this on somebody else that can use a follow-up attack if you have it. And for the other light cone, Himeko's light cone, Night on the Milky Way, it's probably her best in slot due to it being a 5-star, therefore giving the character the most stats, which you would need. And it has a very interesting passive. For every enemy on the field, increase the wearer's attack by 9% up to 5 stacks. This can be a very good light cone for her because she's AoE heavily dependent character, therefore she will get even more damage the more enemies there are. And many bosses and battles have multiple enemies, usually 3, therefore you would get around 27% increase in attack. Also, when an enemy is afflicted by a weakness break, the damage by the word is increased by 30% for 1 turn. This is a great bonus for her because Serval can easily break any lighting weak enemy that exists, especially those robots if you have played the game. And this is a very great passive for her because he can consistently break enemies and deal huge amounts of damage. And because he's also AoE, she can do it multiple times on many enemies, but this does not suck also. Even though if she weakness break 2 characters, it wouldn't be 60%, it would be still 30%. Still, I think this is the best light cone for her in close fight with the Make the World Glamour. Because what Make the World Glamour is heavily investing into her ultimate damage, while Night on the Milky Way is heavily investing on her overall damage. Therefore, it might be better to go for the Night on the Milky Way, but it is heavily dependent on the playstyle. Now, for Serval traces. Her 3 passive traces are very good, her bonus ability ones, such as the first one, Rock and Roll. Her skill has 20% increased base damage to shock enemies. This is a great trace upgrade to get for her, also because it's cheap, but also giving her effect hit rate on her skill is very good because it really plays around also on shock damage and having applied shock damage on to the enemies. Now for her second bonus ability, String Vibration. At the start of the battle immediately it generates 15 energy. 15 energy is great because due to this ability you can usually press your skill if you start first and then your ultimate, therefore killing most lesser mob enemies that exist in the battlefield whenever you are fighting a boss fight or generally whenever you are farming. Therefore you can get your rotation going. And for her third bonus ability, her attack is increased by 20% for 2 turns when she defeats an enemy. Now this is a great one for keeping your rotation up with Serval with her skill and ultimate. Therefore it can be very good to have, but it's also expensive, so you could be very careful whenever you take it. You should be sure that you get it and you are heavily invested on Serval. Now, for your basic attacks, it's just a basic attack on a single enemy unless you have Eidolons. Her ultimate is an AoE damage dealing ability for all enemies, and it does pretty much a lot of damage onto all the enemies and applies shock, which is what she needs on the enemies as a debuff. And her talent's playing around that shock, which allows her to do even more damage, doing an extra damage attack based on her attack to all shocked enemies. And her skill is dealing damage to a single target unit and then dealing extra damage to adjacent units and then applying shock. And if they have shock, they will take more damage. And her technique is making an attack before combat and applying shock and doing plenty of damage and can break loads of weaknesses. It's a great technique to start off the fight. For her other traces, it's recommended to take the crit rate because she has loads of crit rate by inherent. You can get into around 20% and you can get loads of effect hit rate from the other stat bonuses from the traces, and she can get plenty of effect resistance, which is useful in the later stages of Memory of Chaos where many enemies can debuff you or freeze you or anything that can annoy you. And for her skill priority, it would be recommended to upgrade her ultimate and her skill first alongside her talent but I would prefer to go in a balanced state of those three abilities, and you don't really need to upgrade the basic attack unless you are planning here to have here as a sub DPS. If you have here as a main DPS, it is recommended to focus on the skill first, then the ultimate, and then the talent, and then the basic attack. Now, for relics. Serval doesn't use many relics, but she has two very good relic sets for her. The first one, being the best one, would be the Band of Sizzling Thunder, the Thunder set, or the Lighting set. With the 2-piece increases lighting damage by 10%, which she will actually use because she's a lighting character. And the 4-piece, whenever she uses a skill, she would get increasing her attack by 20% for 1 turn, which Serval as a main DPS would use it, and as a sub DPS you would use it sometimes. And it's a great set to have, and it is very good to farm, as with the other set that it has. The second best in slot for her would be the Musketeer of Wild Wheat, because it's a general main DPS or sub DPS relic set. It increases attack by 12%, and with the 4-piece it increases her speed by 6% and her basic attack damage by 10%. It's an okay artifact, relic my bad, Gensing. And it's pretty good for both the main DPS and sub DPS if you don't really wanna spend loads of your fuel to the Band of Sizzling Thunder. As for the planar ornaments, she has multiple choices, therefore we're gonna try to in-depth guide them, all of them. For the first one, Space Sealing Station increases wear attack by 12% and increases when the wear speed increases by 120 or higher, her attack increases by an extra 12%. This is an okay relic set for her, planar ornament set, but there are better ones for the late game. This can get you through the mid game and maybe early stages of the late game, or it could be good as a sub DPS role, but it won't be the best dealing damage one. It's a solid one, but not the best. Fleet of the Ageless is not really the best for her, and even if you were to make her as a sub DPS, you still wouldn't go for the 2-piece passive that can give all allies attack by 8% because she's not really a support, she's more of a damage dealer. For the Pan-Galactic Commercial Enterprise, increase the warrior's effect hit rate by 10%, while the warrior's attack increased by an amount that is equal to 1/4 of the effect hit rate, up to a maximum of 25%. This is an okay light gun if you are wanna play around Shock from Serval and building her effect hit rate, but still you will lose a lot of damage by building this. It's not the best, but you could go for it if you wanna go for an easy build. The logo of the architects is not really good for her due to it being a defense related artifact, and she's not really building defense as a tank, she's a sub DPS or a main DPS. Celestial Differentiator. This is the relic set that I believe is either the first or the second depending on your opinion. This is the set I'm using, which is increasing the ware's crit damage by 16%, and then if the ware current crit damage reaches 120% or higher, after entering battle, the ware's crit rate increases by 60% until the end of the first attack. This is a great set because you can easily go with Serval's E and then ultimate and having the crit rate still apply, therefore getting a guaranteed crit damage that is over 120% damage with both her skill and ulti, therefore you can clear most of the weak mobs that you battle against and leaving the boss, or even dealing half the HP of the boss if you're gonna go heavily on the crit damage, and therefore defeating the battle very early. But still, it can be very good, even though you will lose the crit rate passive after the first attack. Still, due to having loads of crit rate in her traces, she can easily use this set. Next one would be the second or the first, depending on opinion, the Inet's Assaulto. Increase the ware's crit rate by 8%, and when the ware's current crit rate reaches 50% or higher, the ware's ultimate and follow-up attack damage increases by 15%. This is a okay relic set passive because she gets critted and she already has high crit rate, therefore you might not need to go crit rate on her body piece. Therefore, if you get good on substance, because you already get 20% crit rate, around 20% crit rate to her traces, and this gives another rate and she's around 30%, therefore almost reaching the 50%. So if you get lucky with another 20% of crit rate, you will be using this passive without going for crit rate, and you could get on the main body piece crit damage. It's a great passive, and it increases her ultimate damage by 15%, but it's not really the highest, and she won't really use a follow-up attack, therefore it's kinda like using 2/3 of the passive. So therefore that's why I'm putting it as a second. But some people may argue and say it's better. It's heavily on opinion and experience. Now, next one is Talia, Kingdom of Banditry. Increase the ware's break effect by 16%. When the ware's speed reaches 145 or higher, the ware's break effect increases by an extra 20%. This artifact can be very niche, playing according to a set of playstyle with a break effect and shocking the enemies around the dot team. This is usually for the sub DPS shock team Serval, which you probably could use with Kafka, that's upcoming slowly. But still, it's for the niche build that goes for the break effect, and you can get most of it if you use Silverwolf and get lucky with the lighting damage. But still, if you fight any enemy that doesn't have any lighting weakness, then this break effect is almost useless. And the next one, Sprinkley Von Vac. Increases the ware's energy regeneration rate by 5%, and when Serval's speed reaches 100 or higher, 120 or higher, the ware's action is advanced forward by 40% immediately upon entering battle. This is not really great for her because she already has low cost on her ultimate, and she doesn't really need regeneration rate, and she doesn't really need to go first, essentially. Even though it would be nice to kill off all the weak mobs, she isn't really a harmony character or debuffer from the nihility in order to have to apply her buffs or debuffs. When it comes to relics, also you gonna be asking what type of main stats you wanna get. So let's start with the head. With the head you obviously get only HP, which, yeah, and the hands you only get attack, so you can't really make your own or get any different than that. But with the body piece, there are many choices to get, and Serval can go with multiple choices. So she can go with the attack percent, which can be good early to mid game and potentially okay with late game. But the base in choice for the main DPS or sub DPS would be crit rate or crit damage, depending on what relic set you wanna, or planar armor set you wanna go. I personally went with crit damage and heavily invested into that. And you can also use the effect hit rate if you wanna go in a shock build, but Serval can easily apply shock to most enemies. And some boss sure it will be harder, but you might get some effect hit rate substats. So it's gonna be a very niche build that you wanna go if you wanna play around effect hit rate. And next up would be the feet, the boots. The feet would have only 4 choices, and the best it would be probably speed, because you really need speed, especially in the late game. But if you don't get any speed, then go attack. That's the one stat that she can use. The other 2, HP and defense percent, won't really be used by her. You don't really need those. So speed will be the best in slot. If you don't get any speed, then get attack. Though you can get self-modeling aging in order to create the speed, even just like me, but I missed the mark. Let's move on the planar ornament synthesis. Planar ornament sense, my bad. For the planar sphere, you don't have loads of choices either, because you will go for lightning damage boost usually for 99% of times, unless you are very unlucky. If you are very unlucky, just go attack percent. It won't really be that bad, but still, you should go for lightning damage boost. And for the link rope, you usually wanna go attack percent if you're gonna go for a main or sub DPS. But if you're gonna go for that niche build of breaking the enemy defenses and weaknesses and going for the effect hit rate, break effect can be very okay. It's only for that special build that we talked about before, going around with Kafka or dot damage only. It's okay, but still it's very risky. We don't know if it will work, but still you can try it out. It's a PvE game, but still the best one would be attack percent. So her Eidolons, Serval's Eidolons. She doesn't really need her items, but they are very good to have. Her first Eidolon basic attack deals lightning damage equal to 60% of the basic attack damage to a random enemy next to the target that you hit. It's a great Eidolon, not the greatest for the main DPS, but you can use it in other builds such as the sub DPS one, or the effect hit rate one, or the break effect one. The second Eidolon, Encore. Every time Serval's talent is triggered to deal additional damage, she regenerates 4 energy. This is probably the best Eidolon for her, especially if you are playing for Ultimate, for all her builds, because you can easily apply shock to enemies in AoE, and therefore whenever you deal even more AoE damage, you will get multiple energy from them. It does not say that you won't get the energy, and I have noticed whenever I use Serval in most of my gameplay, I get tons of energy due to this Encore passive. So if you get it, use it. It's very great, probably the best Eidolon out of the 6. Her third one, Listen the Heartbeat of the Years, is just the skill increase in talent in the traces and her basic attack. It's okay, just extra damage and numbers. Her fourth one, Make Some Noise. Ultimate has a 100% base chance to apply shock to any enemies. This shock has the same effects as the one applied by skill. So it's very good because you can get shock even more consistently now on the enemies, so you can deal even more damage. So you could use in a fight your ultimate first instead of your skill, and then use your skill to have energy created for you, and then getting your rotation going with your attacks. It's okay, you can use it, you don't need to go chasing it for the Eidolons in any banner. It's just a quality of life change. The fifth one, Bellowbog's Loudest Row, is just increase in trace by 2 to her ultimate and by 2 the talent. It's just okay, it's just damage increase, just like the third one. Her sixth Eidolon is very good. If you get it, it's just a very good damage increase, because Serval deals 30% more damage to shock enemies. This is like an extra planar ornament with the lightning damage boost, but this is overall damage, therefore it's even more important technically speaking. But still, it's a great damage buff to get, and considering with the 4th constellation you can easily consistently get that extra damage. So yeah, they're good, you don't need to go for them. It's not like a game changer that destroys the game and makes any enemy futile to fight for. You just use, yeah, they are just good quality of life changes. If you can get the second one, it's great. You don't really need to push any further than that. My personal recommendation, if you're gonna commit on the Serval, will be the fourth one. You don't really need to go sixth one. But to those who wanna use her as a main DPS but don't really wanna risk the banner, just like the Silverwood, and wanna save for Kafka, use the second one at best. Or just don't risk it at all. She can easily be used with Idol on 0. Which characters are very good for Serval in terms of a team comp? Let's start with the list in Databank. Destruction. In Destruction category, she can play around with Alan due to the shock or the element, or play around with Cook with the dot team. Clara is also a good choice, but still they don't really play around each other. They have some AoE together, but still it would be best to play around other choices if you have. But still they can work together pretty well. With the Hunt, she doesn't really work together with any of them, but still, if she's a sub DPS, she can do AoE damage while the Hunt is doing single target damage, unless it's Silly, which, you know, Silly will clear out everything. Along with other Duration characters, she doesn't really match up that great unless it's with Himeko or maybe it's Jing Wang. Both of them are good choice for her. Heta can be also used, but still you don't want to use Jingxi because they don't really work together that much unless you're going only basic attacks on Serval or on Jingxi, because Jingxi is very skill point hungry and Serval is also consistent using on skill points. He wants to always use his skill and ultimate if she's a main DPS. When it comes to Harmony characters, all of them are very good for her, but the best in choice would be Bronya, second would be Ting Yung, and then third Asta. Bronya would be the best because she can easily increase her crit damage of Serval, which she plays around crit rate or crit damage depending on your playstyle. So yeah, she's probably the best and she can easily have better rotations for Serval due to her skill advancement. I think it would be the second best choice due to her increasing Serval's attack and giving her general damage whenever she ultimates, and energy, 50 energy, and that's half of the Serval's energy because she has 100 energy cost, her ultimate. Therefore, Serval can easily get her ultimate back with Ting Yung as a combo, and they can easily use consistently loads of ultimates. Asta is okay with the speed, he can do more rotation, but not as good as Bronya, I believe. It's more, Asta is more overall for the team. But still she can be used pretty well on a high level. Nihility. The current ones that we have are very good for Serval. With Wealth, it allows Serval to have more rotational power, just like with Bronya or Asta, due to him removing loads of speeds from the enemy. Bella can be also good due to her damage increase, she's always good for that. Damage decrease, my bad. Sampo is great with Serval due to them playing around Dot. If you're gonna go for the Dot build, Sampo is probably the best choice for support for her. Silverwood is also probably one of the best supports for her due to her applying weaknesses on enemies. And Serval really plays around that shock weakness, that lighting weakness, my bad. And they can be a great pair together. In the future, Kafka is also gonna come around and she's probably be the best in slot in duo for her character due to them playing around shock and break and dealing shock damage. Next up is Preservation. Preservation is probably the tank units you probably wanna have either the main character or Jeopard. Now 7 is not really the greatest choice because if you put a shield on Serval, she will take loads of damage and you don't want that. She's okay, but still Jeopard is providing practically invisibility to all the teammates unless you're fighting stronger enemies, and MC is just MC taunting the enemies, therefore Serval won't take any damage because she's a main DPS and you don't want her to get killed at first. And last but not least, Abundance. Abundance characters are okay, they just heal, they don't really have the greatest synergy. Maybe Bailu due to her Divide have a better synergy than Natasha, but still both of them offer very good synergies. Natasha can clear Serval's any debuff or any stun that she gets due to her cleansing her skill, and Bailu can easily revive her Serval if she dies by a boss because, you know, targeting, randomized targeting. If you don't have a preservation, that's gonna probably happen sometime. So I hope you liked watching this video and please press the like button. I'm just a starting YouTuber and I do this as a hobby because I like video editing or photo editing, so I would really love for you to subscribe, because if I see that many people like this video, then I'm gonna make more. I did it mostly because I like Serval as a character and as a unit and his playstyle. And if this is successful, I would probably make for as many units as I can, but of course I need to need the resources and all of that in order to build them up and have the experience. I wouldn't just make a video on the kit without any experience and using them and see how they feel and what are the best builds for them. But thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please like. It would help me very much. My bad. I'm just a starting YouTuber. Hope you liked it. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed and learned something from this, so you can build your Serval just like me, or even better if you get lucky with the relics and you can beat the Memory of Chaos. Goodbye, have a nice day or night wherever you are.